Čau, já jsem Robin z Visibility a vítám vás u našeho dalšího Vizicastu. Po delší době tady mám opět Kevina a to znamená, že jdeme do angličtiny. Hi Kevin.
Hey Robin, how's it doing there, man?
Today we have a specific topic.
Yeah.
The name is Behind the Brand, Vision, Brief and Real Talk. Okay, why not? In the past, you work on many brands. How did you work with them? Was there a real feeling and making the brand feeling in real, or the vision of it was made in you by the specific brand? How does it work?
How does it work? Well, generally speaking, the brand owner, that is the client, should, in theory, have a very, very clear idea of what the brand stands for, and they have to communicate that to the agency in a very clear brief. And here's where the problem starts. If you can imagine communicating ideas is a bit like Chinese whispers. You tell one person and it changed slightly. You tell another person who passes it on, and before you know it, it's completely out of the ballpark and you're working in the dark. So it's really, really, really important to have a really solid brand position and a very, very clear way to communicate it.
And it means that when you work in Havas, the brand was made by the client and you must work with their manual for it.
Absolutely. And it's good you mentioned manual, because the manual has everything. It has what you can and can't do with the logo, with the typeface, with everything. And without that, it's like a boat with no anchor. You're just floating around. And then anybody can take your brand and do anything to it. And believe me, a bad agency will do anything with it.
Did you need sometimes to change in this manual something for your work?
Well, yeah. I mean, like everything evolves eventually. Some brands evolve quicker and more kind of completely than other brands. I mean, I was fortunate enough to work with the Jack Daniels brand, which, to be honest, hasn't changed much in over 100 years. Whereas other brands are desperate to try and get new customers, new people to be interested, and they keep changing the goalposts, which is, in my opinion, not a good idea.
And what do you think about this today? Because time is faster and faster, and we have a lot of new channels like TikTok. Brands needs new customers, and maybe they need to be a little bit repositioned.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I can understand the need for change. But I just sense that a lot of brands are desperately changing to try and make things work instead of building a brand, its position, and its position on the market. And it just seems a bit desperate. I mean, if you look at, I don't know, Jaguar, the recent changes to Jaguar, that seems to be a bit extreme. Are they?
It's absolutely extreme.
Yeah, I mean, are they changing the brand there because they see a new vision of where it should be, or are they chasing customers because the trends have changed? You see, I don't know. I'm sure the guys in Jaguar will tell you, but that's an extreme case. Smaller brands, when you kick off a brand and start, the temptation to jump around until you hit the big time, it's a bit like gambling. I can't think of any brand that's managed to do that. Building it up from the beginning, knowing exactly where you stand or where you want to be, and making sure that everybody who deals with that brand understands that and repeats the same message is, in my opinion, the old school way of doing it, and it's what
brand must be stabilized for a long time.
Yeah. Having said that, I understand that things like TikTok, social media, and all these things, the temptation then to start breaking down the brand and perhaps feeding it to slightly different target groups through different media, it's a huge temptation, but it confuses everybody, I think.
Yeah, but for example, alcohol is not popular in between young people. Maybe cars, it could be similar. Maybe petrol cars, it could be more similar. For example, with the younger audience. What do you think about it? Okay, you have brand positioning, which is so long term, but still.
Well, I mean,
time is going.
Yeah, time's moving. I mean, you could argue that every brand has a life cycle, and every brand eventually dies and is replaced. And you could argue that any brand that has outlived its usefulness or meaning to the target group and has lost its target group, maybe it's time to move on. I don't know, or maybe it's time to reinvent the brand as a new brand, as a new product, as a new target group. You know, that's how I would see it. But I mean, there's old classic brands that have stood the test of time, and they're still here. They're still here, and they manage to somehow evolve the brand rather than fundamentally change it.
Yeah. Okay. In past, when you work on some these brands or campaigns for these brands, how did look the brief for these campaigns and the brand manual? Because typically brand manual of, for example, Jack Daniels must be really a big book.
Wow, that's an interesting question.
Or not?
Yeah.
Or brand must be easy, and it means that the manual for brand is easy too.
I think it should be as easy, as simple, and as direct as possible. I think what really, when you receive a brief, it's usually got every piece of detail you can possibly imagine about the product, about the market, about the customer, about everything the marketing department wants to achieve with this brief. And it's usually incredibly complex. So we have to digest that, and then we have to condense it to one important key idea for the creative team. To unload a client brief onto a creative team is a recipe for disaster. You've got to simplify it, you've got to be very clear, and then you've got to play with visuals, ideas, which are basically archetypes of that one important key idea. The more complicated you make it, you run the risk of confusing people, and it simply won't work. Simplify. Exactly. Some of the most effective creative or marketing is the simplest. It taps into a very basic kind of idea.
What did you need typically in the brief for some new campaign?
Typically,
what is the need for you?
You need to clearly iterate what the brand is, what does it stand for, and where is it positioned amongst its competitors. You have to differentiate your brand from everything else, so you need something to work with. If you are just one of 15 different brands with no differentiation, that's really tough. You also need to clearly know who your target group is. And some of the earlier briefs I saw were briefs that were so wide on the target group, it could literally mean anybody. So you have to really get into the details of who you're talking to. And I think finally there should be a clear idea of the market conditions, the kind of media channels you can use, what the trends are, what the technology is there something new that's relevant? Now, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but finding the sweet spot between those three clear things was always the winner for me. If you find the sweet spot between your customer, your brand, and your market conditions, it's so much easier to sell that not only to the client, but obviously to everybody involved. It becomes logical.
Yeah, okay. How did you work with the brief and with your team? Maybe can you explain the typical hierarchy in creative team for some campaign?
Well, yeah, it's different for different agencies, of course, but the hierarchy we had was a creative director, 2 creative artists, a graphic designer, a copywriter. It could be 2, 3, 4
the creative
people.
Artist is the copywriter and graphic designer, or
no. So you have an artist. This is going back a few years. artist. And this is when we actually, drew pictures by hand and didn't focus so much on technology.
Maybe tell me what was the role of these people in your time?
Okay, well, the creative director, he was in charge of the overall direction of the art and creativity. He's the brains, he's the inspiration. The art directors were kind of hired hands who would physically draw things and work things out. Graphic designers would use the technology like Photoshop and stuff, and the copywriters obviously would be the copywriters. So, they write the words. Together as a team, they should ideally work together, and permanently, if not permanently, then certainly regularly. They get to know each other, they get to know how each other works, and they bounce ideas off each other. But yeah, what they see of the client brief is very small. The project director, the project manager, he has to, or she has to, let's say, they have to filter out all the noise and get to what's important. And there's a bit of creativity in that as well, because you're guiding the creative team in a specific direction. But if you can put into a creative brief, and if you can articulate very specific words, then you set the creative team off in the right direction, and it feels good. You're going in the right direction. If you confuse things, if you put things in a different context, if you overcomplicate things, then it goes crazy and you don't get good results.
No. And typically in this time, how is it long? 15 years?
How long has it been since I looked at a creative brief? Wow, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. 20 years?
20 years?
Maybe.
Okay.
Hold on a minute, what year is it? 2025? So that'd be 2005. Okay, no, to be honest, 2005 is when I started working on Jack Daniels, so it's been a bit longer, so maybe 15 years.
Okay, and this hierarchy and this team was typical for all campaigns, or it was different for different campaigns?
Well, I think within an agency, if you can set up a team like that and you have the main creative team, and then you have smaller creative teams, and then you have specialist teams for different types of thing, then you'd have core kind of engines within the agency, and they would be given specific clients. Ideally, you'd have the same team working on the same client over a long period of time, because let's face it, working on a brand or a client, your experience is cumulative. You get better at it, and you should, you don't want to be constantly going back to the drawing board and teaching a new creative team the fundamentals of the brand, because it's a kind of waste of time. So, but it depends how big your agency is. I mean, we were pretty big. We had some pretty big clients. We had a lot of smaller clients too, so we had a broad range. But yeah, it's more important to have a solid team of creatives working together, a solid team of administration, like brand managers and stuff, and then it's about the people.
Okay, interesting. Some fuck-ups?
I've heard of some, yeah.
Okay. For example, when you had some brief and the ideas and the campaign was totally out of the brief?
Well, I mean, that kind of happens quite a lot. If you can imagine how many individual people are involved from issuing the brief by the client down to the end result, you're talking a lot of people. Misunderstandings, miscommunications. People sometimes don't have the ability to work within the team. They cause problems. Sometimes there's simple mistakes. Sometimes you're doing something you've never done before and it becomes kind of complicated. So yeah, mistakes happen. They happen all the time in every business. In my opinion, it's not the mistake itself. It's how you deal with it. I remember in the early days, the tendency for most people I worked with at the time was to cover their ass, which basically means pointing the finger somewhere else, which, to be honest, I didn't understand too much. I come from a place where I was taught, hey, own your mistakes, learn from your mistakes and move on.
Who works without mistakes, and they work under potential performance or on the...
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, so those that work without mistakes are not pushing themselves. They're underperforming. Yeah. They're working safe. Yeah. They're not risking anything. Yeah. So on the one hand, you don't want to discourage people from making mistakes. You don't want too many mistakes. I think the key here is don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
Be creative. You know, creative agencies are very creative, and they're creative with the mistakes too. Yeah.
Creative agency is creative. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, you create an atmosphere where you don't necessarily rejoice in mistakes, but you certainly don't punish people. It's a question of trying to learn from the mistakes, move on. I've also found, to be perfectly honest, that your attitude towards the mistake goes a long way to building a good, strong relationship with your client. Because if your client knows you'll be honest with them, even when things go south, then you're building a relationship based on trust.
Yeah.
And if they can trust you, they'd rather have you than keep changing the agency.
Okay. And some specific fuck up?
Wow.
In your work?
Yeah, there was. No, I can't tell you about that one. That's a bit too. What about? Okay. I suppose generally speaking, I'll be general here. I don't know the details. So I was responsible for putting together what we called the Jack Daniels experience, and we hired a company from London, and my fault was to trust people without following the rules. So when people said to me it would be ready on time, I trusted their word instead of going and making sure. So when I turned up to the first event and the major piece of equipment was not ready, I learned an important lesson.
Doing the truck?
Yeah, the truck wasn't quite ready. I remember the phone call. I was driving into Roskilde. Roskilde is a festival in Denmark, and it's quite a famous one for being completely devoid of any brand. And we had somehow managed to talk them into, for the first time ever, having a major brand there. And our idea was to produce this huge truck that folds out into a bar. And it was the first event, and we were 3 days from the opening day. And I get a phone call. I was literally driving into the festival site, and I got a phone call from the suppliers saying, we can't open the doors. The doors were like big doors that open up. I said, no worries, just bring them down, we'll fix them as we go. And then bit after bit, they came up with other excuses until I realized the truck wasn't moving. So I had 3 days till the doors opened.
And was the truck existing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd actually been to visit the truck and the place where they were making it, and I'd seen all the pieces, so I knew it existed and it was there. It just wasn't put together yet. So we had a problem. The main centerpiece of this festival experience was missing.
Yeah.
So we had 3 days to fix it. We called the main office in Prague. We got the guys looking for a replacement. I called the client. We had a meeting. I called the local guys, and I explained to all people involved what was going on. We found a replacement truck. It was on its way from Russia, and it was branded Nivea. It wasn't nearly as nice as our truck, but it was a truck nonetheless, so we could use it. So we arranged for it to be delivered to the site. It drove through the festival on the night before opening, in the middle of the night, fully branded in Nivea, caused an absolute uproar. We spent the night rebranding the whole truck. and at about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, I had the festival organisers storming their way across to us saying, "Where's this Nivea truck?" Of course, we just rebranded it. I said, "What truck?" So it was a bit. The other important point I have to mention here is that by being honest and working very hard to fix the problem, we kind of regained the trust of the client.
How did you work with the relationship with the client? Because it's potentially very dangerous, but the relationship must be strong for it. It sounds that your relationship with the client, when you call him 3 days before the event, that truck is not ready, but still work was in progress, and finally on the end of the day it happened.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, it was all right. Number one, you don't just simply ring the client and say, it's not there. You ring the client and say, we've had a problem, but this is how we're fixing it. That's important. Honesty is vitally important. You be clear and be honest about what you're doing. And you work, like I said, very hard to fix that. Now, if you keep doing that, no matter how big or small the problem, that's how you develop a strong relationship. It's about trust, it's about respect. And you don't have any of that to start with, but over time you can build that. So you see, when there is a problem, when there is a fuck up, it's an opportunity to build a stronger relationship.
Yeah, okay. And typically, who was the person who were the point of contact or the person for the relationship with the client? Was it the account manager or?
Yeah, I mean, like if you have a small team, you have a
or was it the creative director?
No.
Who were the main person for it?
Okay, you basically have 3 main teams. You have the creative department. The creative department is completely separate.
Okay.
You do not want.
It's not in contact with client.
You don't want your art directors and people sitting in front of the client and trying to communicate these things. That doesn't work easily. The creative people come in, present their ideas, and they stand back. You have a project director and you have a brand director. If you understand ATL, BTL, then you'll understand that the brand director is for ATL, and the project director is for BTL.
Okay.
Right? So if you're working like I did with Jack Daniels through the line, then it doesn't matter what you call the person.
Okay.
It's the brand team that actually take care of it, because they're the ones who know.
These 2 people were for the relationship with the client.
Yeah, you have one person on the client side, one person on the agency side, and they develop a strong relationship, and they coordinate everything from there. Yeah, generally. Other clients, different ways. Bigger clients, smaller clients, but generally that's what it's like. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. What did you feel when you speak about this your last or past work in creative and agency marketing?
How do I feel? How did I feel at the time? I think I always felt that something wasn't right, or we didn't do it properly, or we could do it better, which is good. That's the feeling of hunger for any job that you're doing. I think the moment you stop feeling that, it's time to sort of move on. So I felt at the time of doing it that I could always do better. I really regret not saving some of the things that I did. I was stupid enough to think that I'd always be in advertising and it would always be around. And now I look back, I feel quietly proud of some of the stuff I did, and realise it was a fantastic journey to be on. And I kind of miss it sometimes, which is why I like talking to your team here about projects and stuff like that.
And for us, it's nice that our employees can speak about their work with someone like you, and it's English lesson too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've got a question for you.
Which one?
How do you feel about the brands? How do you build good relationships with the client? Have things really changed that much, or is there any ways?
I think that a lot of clients are focused on performance more than their brand,
right.
more than on their brand, and sometimes people, typical marketing strategists, are in two groups. One group likes nice pictures and thinking about the brand, but sometimes it's not the real brand manager, because is it nice or not? Not if it's working and is it good for the brand and this thing. And the second group is based on numbers, and people based on numbers sometimes are not good about the feeling from the brand. I think that if something must be working, you must combine performance, brand, and all these things. And we have one marketing. Okay, in past it was ATL, BTL. Today we have online, social, brand, performance. But still, the result is one, and it's profit on the client side.
Right, yeah.
It's a little bit different story, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, I suppose. But I can't get away from the fact that, or I can't get away from the feeling that the fundamental basics of marketing and advertising are the same. Whether it's a tiny, tiny brand just starting out, or whether it's the biggest brand, in the world, the fundamental basics are the same.
Yeah.
And if you follow those sincerely, I don't see how you can fail.
No. Okay, so nice. Thank you.
Cheers.
Tak tohle to byl další náš Vizicast a poslouchat nás můžete jak na Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcast, YouTube, tak i na Podcasty.cz. Tak čau.